important clarification. And let me say then, just for avoidance of any future doubt, that I beg to move that the bill be read a second time. This, Mr. Deputy Speaker, is a technical measure that concerns cash management. Its purpose is to allow the government to use cash advances to act swiftly and decisively to safeguard the people of this country, both from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and from other unexpected events. But I would emphasise that money from the Contingencies Fund constitutes a cash advance which will have to be repaid once a supply estimate is voted through the House. It is not additional spending. And it is important to be clear that the House will still be able to scrutinise and debate where resources have been allocated in the usual way when the government publishes the supply estimates. As honourable members will be very much aware, Parliament provides the government with the authority to expend resources in the form of capital and cash. However, the government must also sometimes provide a swift financial response to national emergencies and other pressing events. That is why the Contingencies Fund exists. In the 1974 Contingencies Fund Act, Parliament put a limit on the amount that could be issued from the fund at 2% of the previous year's cash spend. This cap has normally proved to be sufficient to meet unexpected and sudden financial requirements. But, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we are not living in normal times at present, and uncertainty as to the impact of COVID-19 has required a degree of flexibility in setting this cap. As colleagues across the House will recall, a year ago, as the full implications of the pandemic started to emerge, the House agreed to change the limit on the Contingencies Fund from 2% to 50% of the previous year's cash spend for the financial year 20 to 21. This had the effect of raising the amount in the fund from a possible £11 billion to £266 billion. This cash advance has been invaluable to departments in dealing with the unprecedented events that have been set in motion by the pandemic. In fact, over the past 12 months, requests from the Contingencies Fund have totalled over £210 billion. It has provided the cash for government interventions to support businesses, to support frontline workers, and to pay for the furlough and other schemes. In addition, it has provided the financial firepower to help the NHS through the crisis, and it has funded numerous other measures that have helped to safeguard lives and livelihoods throughout this extraordinarily difficult period. And of course, just as is the case in every previous year, the fund has also paid out on business-as-usual requests as well. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this bill again seeks to adjust the limit on the amount that can sit in the Contingencies Fund for the financial year ending March the 30th, 2022, to 12% of last year's cash spend. If I may, I will set out the reasoning behind that decision. With the new cap, the amount in the fund will total £105 billion. By contrast with the 2% cap, the normal percentage limit, in that case, the fund would have contained £17.5 billion. This is clearly a substantial sum, and it would be more than ample to deal with spending requirements in the normal run of things. However, while the government will provide departments with suitable resources for the 2021 to 22 year, it is prudent to be prepared in cash terms. While the resounding success of the vaccination programme offers us light at the end of the tunnel, grateful to our friend for his intervention, it is equally true that we must remain vigilant. The crisis is not over, and therefore the government believes it's only right to retain flexibility on the amount in the Contingencies Fund. However, given the experience accrued by each government department over the last year in dealing with the virus, we can scale back the limit from 50% of the previous year's cash spend to 12%. Once again, let me assure honourable members that the House will still be able to scrutinise and debate where resources have been allocated in the usual way when we publish the supply estimates. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this is it is a technical, but it is an important bill that will allow the government to deal with unexpected events over the coming year. It provides departments with a mechanism to respond swiftly and decisively to emergencies and to sudden, unpredictable needs, so that they can safeguard our public services and support the well-being of people across this country. It does not, and I say again, it does not impinge on Parliament's right to scrutinise and question, but it does underline this government's commitment to do whatever it takes to protect lives and livelihoods in order to overcome this virus, and I commend it to the House.
The question is that this bill be now read a second time, and we go to the video link. James Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, and I thank the right honourable gentleman for setting